It's been a crazy week for the AI market, and it continues today. I mean, yesterday we had NVIDIA at a UBS Global Technology and AI Conference. We had Amazon's re-event 2025 keynote, and we had so many other companies present at banking events yesterday. Now, today isn't any different. We had AMD report at the same UBS Global Technology Conference. We had Nebius do the same. And yesterday, we also did have CoreWeave that I missed. So on today's episode, what I want to do is take a closer look at AMD, at Nebius, and at CoreWeave, which all presented something within the past 24 hours, and kind of take a closer look at some of the big takeaways from it. So let's take a closer look in today's episode.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so first, let's just quickly look at price action. AMD was up roughly 1.1% on the day. We also saw, I think it was a good day for our neo cloud players. Nebius was up roughly 2.5%. I know some of the other players were a little bit higher. CoreWeave is finally waking up roughly 4.3%. I want to take a closer look at iron. I know iron was a little bit iffy, up about 7% on the day. So luckily for a lot of these stocks, we did kind of start off with a very weak morning, and it kind of transformed a little bit over time. So yeah, pretty good in forms of stock price action and kind of seeing a little bit of bullish sentiment. The other thing I do want to mention is Joe Rogan had Jensen on his podcast, and I'm pretty sure this is going to do some crazy numbers with the overall AI space right now. This is about a 2-hour and 30-minute long podcast. I haven't finished it. As you can see, I'm roughly at the 42-minute mark. As of yet, from this 42 minutes, I have yet to hear anything that I really want to share in forms of an investor that I really don't know, or that the community doesn't really know right now. But I would say, I think Joe Rogan, well, we look at it as an investor point of view. The questions he asks are probably the questions a lot of the public that are not into the space, that is not into investor, are curious about the AI market. So if you maybe want to see the perspective or the lens of someone that doesn't really follow this market, I think this podcast, at least the first 40 minutes, discusses that really well. So definitely check it out. I will be discussing and watching it more over time. And if I do find any golden eggs in it, I'll definitely show it in future videos. So now let's kind of jump into this PowerPoint presentation that I have for you guys in forms of semiconductor and AI updates, right? We have AMD, we have Nebius, and we have CoreWeave that all had something within the past 24 hours. Now, CoreWeave actually had another one today. The one that I am going to be covering is the one from yesterday. So CoreWeave, I will be following the one from today, maybe in tomorrow's episode or later tonight. But let's start off with AMD. What did we hear? I mean, the main thing is the green flag. They obviously see massive growth in GPUs, but they continue to see nice momentum in the CPU market. They've actually seen a significant uptick in CPU demand over the last 3 months as AI moves to inferencing. And this kind of defeats that counter narrative of GPUs are killing the CPU thesis. The other thing is agent workloads are spawning more on CPUs right now. And this is creating an incremental demand, a new TAM for the CPU space. So they see the CPU business has a great business going forward and substantial growth over the next 4 to 5 years. And if you looked at AMD's AI analyst events, they already talked about this, but it is great to hear it outside of there. Now, they also shared some strategic data points. First thing, again, very similar to the AI event, they talk about market share. Right now, they have roughly 40% market share in server CPUs. They built an incredible strong server CPU market. They expect to go over 50 within the next few years. Right now, in the client CPUs, they're in the mid to high 20s, and they're targeting roughly 40% share, as mentioned at their recent analyst day. Now, with the OpenAI deal, they talked a little bit about that. For those that are not familiar, they have a 6 gigawatt partnership, and each gigawatt deployed is a double-digit billion-dollar opportunity for them. So that's obviously north of 10 billion for each gigawatt partnership. I believe that it's actually closer to like 25 billion for them for each gigawatt, and that's massive revenue growth. The final kind of data point that they share there is right now they have about 25,000 engineers. And even with 25,000 engineers, which is much smaller than like your NVIDIA and your Intel, they're still fighting a lot of battles. They're doing really well, right? They're fighting the x86 CPU on the server and client market. They're fighting the software war. They're fighting the GPU war. So they are definitely doing stuff right with the amount of scale that they have. And if maybe they build more, how much more can they push on into their chip design, into their software design, into the innovations in the AI space? Now, they also talk about ASIC. Obviously, ASIC has become a very, very popular question right now, especially with that Google TPUs and the recently announced Amazon Trainium. Analyst was pressing hard on ASIC threats. And Lisa Su pretty much said that they see GPUs still being significant majority of the market share because software developers want the flexibility that comes with GPUs and not your ASIC players. And they still maintain that the ASIC market will have roughly 20 to 25% of the overall market share within the next few years. So that's not new news for them. That's what they've been guiding, right? 20 to 25 going in the ASIC space. And the ASIC space can be a variety of XPUs attached. But overall, it shows that this is a market that can be grown by two players. Both the GPUs and the ASIC markets can continue to grow over time as this market gets bigger and bigger. They also emphasize that they are very flexible in the AI space, right? And that's what GPUs come, right? That flexibility to you might make a workload or an AI model work on this workload, but eventually the next model might do on another workload. So you need that flexibility there in the AI ecosystem. Now, before we go any further, guys, if you want to learn more, make sure to hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. We are trying to hit 85,000 subs by the end of the year. Make sure to hit that thumbs up because I really want to get there, and I'm sure we're gonna get there, right? I'm sure. Bullish Jose is coming. Santorelli is coming for the subscriber count. Let's hit that 85,000. Now, if you want more than just deep dives and more than just YouTube, I mean, check out my community. I've created this amazing community, whatthechipHappened.com. Use code CYBER right now to get 33% off your annual subscriptions. We have deep dives on semiconductors and AI stocks. We have detailed episode slides. These slides are going to go in there. Monthly live Q&A sessions, a community of serious investors. We even have AI agents that I am on beta right now. For example, Marvell's earnings are already on a deep dive there. Maybe I might do a video, not as a deep dive video, but I might do a video later this week on the channel here. But if you want to get my pure always thoughts on the overall market, check out whatthechipHappened.com. Next, we're going to jump into Nebius. Nebius had a conference today, and three things that I want to talk about. First is they're continuing to see massive growth in inference. Inference is growing 40% faster than CapEx is what they mentioned. So this showcases that actual customer consumption is growing, and it's not your traditional just R&D and training, which is something that if you follow this market, you already know. Customers are doubling every 6 to 8 weeks the amount of compute that they might need. And evolution is going from training to optimization to inference. And as we do know, inference, right? Inference is the biggest growing force right now. Now, they talk about their margin drivers and some of the path to profitability that makes them a little bit different from kind of CoreWeave. The first thing they really talk about is conservative depreciation. They give the Hopper chips depreciated over 6 years versus peers that do it 6 years. Now, they stated during the call that it's not because they believe their chips are gonna go bad in 4 years. They continue to see evidence that they are gonna last longer than that. It's just for them to have a more conservative numbers on depreciation, and this allows them to, with these conservative numbers, make sure that they're always working on the type of deals. That deal level discipline ensures 20 to 30% EBIT margin range. So it's definitely beneficial in the forms of financials, and definitely something that is a pro, because if you're doing it over 4 years, you're depreciating them a lot faster, and you're making these contracts, you're going to make sure that even with that faster depreciation, you still want to keep high level deal level discipline, which is overall bullish. Now, the other thing, cost advantage. They do build their own racks and servers, which is provides about a 20% lower TCO, which is really great for the overall team. And then operating leverage. They started with around 100 engineers and with 1,000 engineers, right? And as they improve annual recurring revenue, as they build more data centers, the actual engineers that they have to grow isn't to that same level, right? So that's the great thing, right? Because a lot of the things you can once build, you can just go on to the next and the next and the next and the next. So it is some control in forms of operating expenses. And they talk a little bit of the progression, how in 2024 they were negative in this market. Quarter two, they hit positive. And in quarter three, they had a roughly 19% margins at the moment. Now, the other thing that they talk about is the enterprise market. So, right now, they are building data centers and these AI clusters that are meant to serve everybody. But obviously, at the beginning, you only have a selected amount of few people, and that's typically what it happens, right? The startup companies, or the big startup companies, or the big mature companies are usually the ones that go all in into this new technology. And this is very similar to how the cloud happened initially. And then over time, the enterprise market started to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And they believe within the next 3 to 5 years, two-thirds of the opportunity will actually be coming from the enterprise side. And I actually find that pretty exciting because the enterprise side usually tends to go with maybe doesn't need the most advanced chips. So if you are building all these data centers right now, in 2 to 3 years or 3 to 5 years, they wouldn't mind using the Hopper or the Blackwells right now when we might be in Feynman by that time. So it helps kind of provide that there is a nice amount of opportunity for older GPUs in the near future to be used a lot longer than maybe some of the markets was expecting. Now, I want to talk about CoreWeave. So CoreWeave, they also talk about the overall market. They say that right now they're pretty much the pick and shovels play, and the demand is indifference. It's kind of weird to say it, but while we are hopeful that each and every one of our customers is individually successful, in many ways it doesn't actually impact us on which one does get there. And why does that make sense? Don't you want all your customers to succeed? Well, if there's only going to be a few winners in the AI market, they're going to take up all that market share. They're going to take up all that inference. So while maybe right now you have 10 labs running 10 different data centers, if in the future you only have 2 labs running the AI models, they're still going to be showcasing it to all these people, to the public, to the enterprise world via APIs and whatsoever. So no matter who ends up winning, they're still going to need all that compute regardless. So it doesn't matter who wins the AI race. It just matters that the AI market continues to grow. And right now, their earnings report they mentioned that earnings showcase that biggest customers show no slowdown in cloud anytime soon, as we've seen a massive growth in CapEx, which could be seen as a bullish take for companies like Coreweave and Nebius. Now, the number two and number three are kind of with GPUs, and I found this pretty interesting. So we've heard about CoreWeave talking about the H100, right? The older generations. And they mentioned that they had a 10,000 GPU H100 cluster renewed within 5% of the original prices. Within that, many people are saying this was a one-off, but they solidified those and eliminated those bearish thesis right now by saying that this isn't a one-off. They've sold out of any of their other older generation architecture. So it wasn't a one-off. So that was all pretty great to see that it's not just these big clusters, they are selling off in the overall market. The third thing is they talk about the GB300s. And they mentioned that in the GB300s right now, the NVIDIA's latest generation, they're not seeing deployments on less than 3-year terms. They're actually seeing, if you're coming to ask for a GB300, you're coming for about a 4 to 5 year minimum commitment on that platform. That's actually pretty crazy. Now, obviously, if there might be a cancel off in some of those contracts midway, that could be seen bearish, but a lot of the money is collected. You have that initial prepayment, then you have the payment over time, which helps kind of pay off a lot of this. But regardless, what you are seeing is the demand for compute is still crazy, and we still have massive lag massive latency in all these AI models. I mean, Claude, for example, sometimes it takes forever. OpenAI still takes forever. All this until the moment where I see all these models become instantly or instant give me an answer, that's when I might start to worry about overcompute. But until as long as we have these massive waiting times on all these AI models, it's going to tell me, Jose, we still need a lot more compute. So I do believe that's all I have for you guys here. Yep. Like I mentioned, if you guys want to support the channel, make sure to hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. If you want to join the community, check out whatthechiphappen.com. Use Cyber for 33% off. The sale's not going to go on for much longer. I'm pretty sure I'm going to cancel it in the next few days. So take care, have a good day, and see you all next time.